So my name is Matthew Hui. I'm the COO at Belmar Consulting. My experience in the nonprofit industry has really been a variety of different capacities, being a volunteer, being a donor, being a committee member of boards, but really it all started in being a reading buddy all the way back many years ago for an after-school program reading to young children at the library. And over the duration of my nonprofit experience within that industry, I've seen just some of the most impactful organizations really solving problems on a day-to-day basis. And fast forward to today, I get the joy and the pleasure of being able to implement technology solutions, process solutions, structure solutions to nonprofits, really looking to stay with modern tech stack and also just make sure that they can do the absolute best that they possibly can in solving the problems that their organization is trying to solve. I think the thing that makes me passionate about staying within the nonprofit industry, but also continuing to explore it, is that there's always a variety of problems to be solved. And there's no shortage of problems, both at a local and community scale or a global scale. So there's always something new to be solved, and there's always some new way of doing things as well. But it's exciting because there's varying levels of maturity within the nonprofit ecosystem from how they go about solving these problems. They could be very, very developed teams and organizations, or they could be very small organizations. So I think the variety of challenges that they face, but also the variety of experiences is really interesting to me and very fulfilling, bringing a nonprofit along that journey and ultimately helping them solve the problems that they're facing. I start the discussion with nonprofit executive leaders, specifically around digital transformation, by quantifying the pain. And I think it's important to evaluate what is the pain worth to the organization, what type of pain is it causing, what is the problem that exists before even entertaining a technology solution. So I think start with what is the pain, what does this mean for you as an organization, you as a team? Is this truly a technology problem? And then once you've determined, is this a technology problem, it's understanding, okay, is there process elements to this? Is there people elements to this? Is this something that can be satisfied in other capacities? But it starts always with problem analysis and understanding what is the pain worth to you. The second kind of way then an approach to evaluating and approaching a digital transformation for executive leaders is then trying to understand, are you transforming out of necessity, or are you transforming out of desire? Necessity being you're being pushed into making this decision to modernize your tools because ABC reason. Maybe there's a need from a grant funder to be able to report in a specific way. You need to then modernize your tools to improve your reporting. So that could be one way, or the most obvious example is having to switch to virtual over the past couple of years. That's another very necessity-driven reason for having to digitally transform. The other side of the coin is, are you transforming out of perhaps desire in wanting to improve your tools and the way that you're doing things from a technology standpoint to better attract new grant funding, to improve or scale the organization, to scale the impact that you're having to serve more constituents? So there's two real ways to slice it. Is it out of necessity or is it out of desire? And I think that really guides how you start that conversation and how you get ready for before even selecting a technology platform to go about solving those problems. Yeah, so how do I approach change management? What's my approach to that to ensure smooth adoption, really to align to org goals? I think there's really two ways that you can look at it. There's bottom-up approaches, there's top-down approaches, and every change management plan is going to have a kind of the core components to it. Communications, people, there's always going to be those elements, but I think at its core, to ensure smooth adoption, the the what's in it for me, the WIFM as I like to call it, needs to communicate it to all parties as part of this transformation. Whether or not you're an executive, whether or not you're a leader, whether or not you're somebody on the team who's maybe not in a leadership capacity, being able to convey the what's in it for me is important so that there's buy-in. Now, you're not always going to get that buy-in. It's getting buy-in and getting adoption is never linear. So that's why inserting and establishing champions throughout the organization, champions for that change, people who will be in your corner when you roll out something that will inevitably shake up the day-to-day, that's vital to making sure that you have success. If it's just one person or one leader trying to drive the change for an entire organization, really when it comes down to it, in the day-to-day, in using a new system, it's going to fall apart because people are going to be not wanting to use the system the way it's intended to be used, or they're going to grow resentment towards this new system and adopt other ways, shortcuts to trying to solve their problems. So I think it's important to, first off, convey the what's in it for me and how it impacts everybody's day-to-day. And the second is also just being able to train them and use language that is relevant for themselves. And there's no better way to do that than having somebody from those respective business units or teams be part of that transformation. Being part of it, helping to shape what it will look like, that will ensure and increase your chances of having a successful adoption and increasing that buy-in from day one. It's never a black and white answer. It always will depend, because it depends on the type of project it is. But I think some thoughts on that: developing buy-in and setting up a suitable landscape for adoption of a new technology system starts way before you even selected a technology platform. You need to understand and align to organizational objectives, and you need to identify who would be a good champion for this if you want a higher chance of success. So even before you've selected a technology, you've established what are you going to do to make sure we have that buy-in at the forefront. Now, how long does this take while and let's go down the happy path, you've selected a platform, you've gone ahead and you've started implementing this. Change management is not a one and done. It happens all throughout the implementation of a new technology platform, but also well beyond if you want people to continue to use the system and continue to use the system right and correctly. So it starts way before you even entertain the evaluation. It happens concurrently while a new system is being implemented, and it continues on really for the longevity of that system. If you want to ensure that you're maintaining high adoption, you need to ensure that you're continually training on new features. You need to make sure that you're continuing to upgrade the system to satisfy new challenges and new pain points that come up. And only then will you ensure long-term scalability and sustainability and really adoption of a new system. Yeah, so how do I communicate strategic objectives, and how do I navigate pushback that will inevitably be there? Pushback is always going to be present. It perhaps takes various forms, and it may not be evident right when it is being pushed back, but there could be hesitations. There could be hesitations to change. But I think the really important part in when communicating any type of change is being sensitive and being understanding of where an individual may be coming from. And in understanding where they're coming from and why they might be pushing back, it's also important to use language that makes sense, language that resonates with that individual. Tied back previously to what I shared, the what's in it for me, that needs to be understood. And when you're communicating that, you need to use language that resonates with that individual. Are they a leader? Are they a manager? Are they not a leader or manager, and maybe something else that would resonate a bit more with them? Are they on the front line? So being able to use language that resonates and vernacular that actually resonates with that individual is critical to navigating and even having a chance at managing that pushback. Another thing too, when you're communicating, don't overcomplicate things. Technology doesn't have to be painful, it can be fun. You're only shooting yourself in the foot if you're complicating things and making it more difficult for them to understand why they should be moving into this new system. when you start this project or when you start a transformation, you've identified objectives, you've identified strategic objectives. Have they or have they not been met? That's the first checkpoint. That will tell you whether or not that project itself was a success, but on an ongoing basis and long-term sustainability and scalability, it's understanding, is adoption where it needs to be at? Are people using the system? Beyond that, are they using the system correctly? Is it producing me the data that I need to be creating on a regular basis? Is it giving me valuable insights? Is it saving me money? So, I mean, the success metrics will vary organization to organization, project to project, but it's really identifying, have they met the goals that you set out at the start of this project? And if those have changed, have they met those revised goals that you've established there? But it's a project determination, but it's also an ongoing determination too, to make sure that this technology integration is successful. So how do I ensure long-term scalability with the adoption of technology? When I think of scalability, I think of, if we were to 2x in size, if we were to 2x in donations, if we were to 2x in transactions, would this system be able to handle that volume? That's one way to look at it. You can look at it just from a sheer capacity standpoint, but I think it's important to, before you entertain a technology transformation, establishing what the future looks like, establishing what that vision could look like and what a potential scenario may play out to be. And in understanding that vision, if your goal has any type of scaling to it, you need to make sure that you're asking the question of, well, what will happen if X occurs? Every time that you're going about evaluating and architecting a system. So build that question asking period and those questions that you're going to regularly ask into a process and structure to be regularly brought up throughout an implementation. To make sure that whatever you're building or whenever you build something, even if it's a revision or an enhancement, continues to check that box. What happens if X occurs? So by building in and baking in that question and always asking yourself that question, it'll drive your design methodology for making sure that you're always checking, is what I'm building scalable, sustainable, usable, as well as accurate. And by using those 4 design principles, you're able to maximize your chances of a scalable solution.